I could go back in time, I would slap my 25-year-old self with one hard truth. You don't need more strategies. You don't need another course. And you sure as hell don't need another guru. You need focus, ruthless, disciplined, obsession level focus. You see, 5 years ago, I was stuck trying to crack the 10K a month mark, working 16-hour days, and I didn't even know what day of the week it was. But here's the crazy part. I had been to engineering school, culinary school, Harvard Business School, and I was consuming every course out there, every book, and following every single guru I could find. Why was I still broke? It was because I did not understand the one thing that separates millionaires from everyone else. And once I figured this out, everything changed. I went from that chaos to generating over $75 million for over 200 brands. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications, because I drop a new video every week sharing the lessons from scaling online businesses to $1 million per month the easy way, so you don't have to learn it the hard way. Now, let me take you back to where this all started. I've always had this entrepreneurial DNA that made it almost impossible to work for someone else. One of my first jobs as a server, it probably lasted like 2 weeks before I started thinking like, man, there has to be a better way. And the funny thing is, looking back, I couldn't figure out why I was into marketing and all of this, but when I was a kid, I loved watching infomercials and selling random stuff like Pokemon cards and drawing books like color books or candy in elementary school. Anyway, eventually, I became obsessed with learning, engineering, culinary arts, Harvard Business School, and psychology courses. I was collecting all these degrees and certifications like they were going to save me and make me rich. And then the same thing happened for business. I would consume every course, every framework, every breakthrough strategy I could find, and I thought I was being productive, but really I was just busy. I remember this one time, and this is what it really hit me. I was at a conference and somebody asked me a question that just paralyzed me. They asked me, Rod, what do you like to do outside of work for fun? That second it clicked. I had no answer. I froze and I was like, what do you mean outside of work? I didn't have hobbies, interests, even relationships left. I had pushed everybody away because I was so focused on success, but I wasn't focused at all. That's the truth. That's when I realized something had to change at that point. I thought learning was the problem. I thought I needed to know more so I could do more and try more things. But the real problem was the complete opposite. I was like somebody trying to master guitar by reading music theory books instead of actually playing songs. I was memorizing, all the scales instead of making music. So here's what I discovered. I wasn't broke because I was not smart, but because my attention was fractured. Think about it like a computer. When you have 10 tabs on your browser open, everything slows down. So your brain works the exact same way. Every course, every strategy, every opportunity you're chasing is just another tab slowing down your entire system. So I made a terrifying decision. Cut everything out. No more courses, no more gurus, no more reading one book a week. I took what I already knew and took massive action. That focus is what took me from cracking my first 10K a month to making 7 figures with my agency. But here's where the story gets interesting. Success is dangerous because the moment you achieve something, you start thinking you need to level up your knowledge again. So even after hitting 7 figures, I fell back into the same trap. I joined multiple masterminds for 20, 30K, thinking I would find like some secret advanced strategy or a hack. And do you know what I discovered? I already knew 95% of what they were teaching. The real value was in the tiny refinements, that extra 5%, and not just like a complete home run. But the worst part wasn't the money, kind of wasted, which is never wasted really for the connections, but it happened to my focus again. I started doing market research on social media and following other marketers, watching every YouTube video, scrolling through Instagram, and I was telling myself this lie, that I was just staying up to date with the trends. But the reality is I was just feeding that addiction for inputs. And it gets worse, believe it or not. My clients started doing the exact same thing. They would send me YouTube videos from, a random guru with a Lambo asking like, hey, why aren't we doing this? Or they would see again some case study or an ad or whatever, and it's like, hey, let's just do this, and pivot the whole strategy and throw everything away. This is where I learned something that blew my mind about how the brain actually works. You see, there's an actual science behind why this type of approach destroys your business. The University of London found that multitasking lowers your IQ by 15 points, which is the equivalent to losing a full night's sleep. And it gets worse. Gloria Mark at UC Irvine discovered that the average person gets interrupted every 11 minutes, but it takes 25 minutes to regain full focus. Think about that math for a second. The truth is, you're never actually focused. Your business is like that computer with 10 tabs open. Social media, new strategies, shiny object, the guru next door. They are all tabs slowing your system down. Most seven-figure founders I work with nowadays, they use platforms to create, not consume. They understand that great results come from deep work and not noise. And by learning this lesson the hard way, it taught me something even more important. After working with over 200 companies and generating $75 million in revenue, I started seeing the same pattern everywhere, over and over. For example, I had this one client, they were doing 200K per month. We were running Facebook ads profitably, predictably, and scaling beautifully. Then he saw a case study about YouTube ads and wanted to pivot everything. Well, right, shut down Facebook ads, let's just go all in with YouTube. So I told him like, hey, listen, Linda, listen. Let's scale Facebook first, and then we can add YouTube as a second channel. 3 months later, fortunately, he listened to me, and we scaled Facebook to 350K per month in ad spend, and then we added YouTube and scaled that to 150K per month on ad spend. But most entrepreneurs would have killed that Facebook campaign, spend 3 months learning YouTube, trying to make it take off, lose all momentum, and just would end up back in square one. Here's another story. For context, I work with a software company. They were stuck at 100K per month, and they were running a webinar. It was converting at about 2.5%, so nothing crazy, but it was still profitable. And they wanted to scrap everything and build a VSL funnel because they saw, again, someone else doing it and posting, crazy ROAS and numbers. Now, instead, we optimized what was already working with better hooks, better content, better offer, better pitch, same webinar strategy, but now it was converting at 4.8%. So they doubled the revenue without changing the strategy. You see, the businesses I've scaled to 7 and 8 figures weren't doing anything crazy or revolutionary. They just found what worked, and it did it with volume and intensity until it was mastered. This is when I realized the one thing that changes everything. The one thing that separates millionaires from everyone else isn't intelligence, it's not connections, and it's not even luck. It's focus. But not the kind of focus most people think about. This is about obsessive focus on execution over learning. Focus on mastery over everything else. And here's what I learned. Early in your journey, you're going from 0 to 5 figures. You get massive jumps from knowledge. One good framework, one good book can 10x your business overnight. But going from 6 figures to 7 to 8, that requires a completely different approach. Small improvements compound, right? 5% optimizations in 10 different areas create exponential growth. Going from 0 to 5 takes maybe 6 months, but going from 9 to 10 might take you 10 years. And that's how mastery really works. Now, most entrepreneurs quit during this phase because they expect every new strategy to be a home run. But millionaires understand that focus compounds. They pick one thing and go deep, deeper than everyone else is willing to go, and say no to everything else. Even the guru's secret won't save you if you're not focused enough to execute properly. But there's one more part to this story that almost made me quit everything. Remember how I said that I had no life outside of work, right? No hobbies, no interests, no nothing. And I pushed everybody away for so-called success. Well, I achieved my revenue goals. I had the business, the clients, the lifestyle, the recognition, cars, the watches, all that stuff. Honestly, I was miserable and unfulfilled. And that's when I learned the most important lesson of all. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. The real focus isn't just on your business. It's on designing a life that's worth living. I had to redefine what success meant to me personally, not just what other people said it should be. So my goal isn't just to help businesses hit 7 figures per month. It's helping founders build businesses that improve their lives instead of consuming them. Because what's the point of making millions if you have nobody to share it with? So if I could go back in time, I wouldn't tell myself to hustle harder or to learn more. I would tell myself to slow down, cut out the noise, and go deep on what actually matters. Because the truth is, it was never about doing more. It was about doing less, but better, with focus and with purpose. And building a life that actually feels like winning, not just one that looks good on paper and on social media. That's the real game. And most people never even start playing it.
7 figure CEO. You one-stop shop when it comes to paid social media advertising. 7